Close your eyes and imagine mechanoluminescent nanoparticles traveling through your veins, activated by focused ultrasound waves from outside your body, and providing an incredible source of light to modulate neurons with precision. This isn't science fiction. It's the incredible future of neurotechnology. Discover the cutting-edge realm of Sono-Optogenetics and learn the first steps of building your own startup in Neurotech. Hello, our amazing listeners of Neurocareers Doing the Impossible. It's your podcast host, Dr. Milena Krastensky, or simply Dr. K. And I'm excited to welcome you to the second season of our podcast, exploring entrepreneurial careers in neuroscience and neurotechnologies. Have you ever wondered what it takes to transform brain science into groundbreaking products and services? Are you curious about the fearless visionaries who bridge the gap between neuroscience and entrepreneurship to change people's lives and reshape our world? Are you ready to explore how to navigate the uncharted waters of neurotech entrepreneurship? In season 2, we're diving deep into the world of entrepreneurial ventures in neuroscience and neurotechnologies. If you are looking to create an immediate impact and translate your neuroscience and neurotech ideas into innovative services that truly make a difference in the world, this season is tailor-made for you. Join us and learn from the best in the field about succeeding in the entrepreneurial journey in neuroscience and neurotechnology where innovation meets impact. We've got an incredible lineup of guests who are not only shaped their careers, but have also made a profound impact on the field. Throughout this season, we'll explore the captivating stories of visionaries who've risen to the challenge, who've turned obstacles into opportunities, and who've innovated in ways that are changing the landscape of neurocareers. So, whether you are a seasoned professional in the field, an inspiring entrepreneur, or simply curious about the intersection of science and business in this ever-evolving arena, the season promises inspiration, education, and a glimpse into the exciting future of neurocareers. I am Dr. Milena Krastensky, the founder of the Institute of Neuroapproaches, where I help people establish successful careers in neuroscience and neurotechnologies through career coaching and education. So let's dive into the entrepreneurial journeys that are shaping the future of neuroscience and neurotechnologies together. Tune in now into the thrilling episode number 66. Dear Neurocareers podcast listeners, welcome to another episode of our Neurocareers Doing the Impossible podcast. Today, we're delighted to introduce you to Dr. Ilya Pyatnitskiy, a visionary entrepreneur and neuroscientist currently making waves in the field of healthcare and neurotech. Ilya is not stranger to the entrepreneurial landscape. He co-founded two successful startups in Europe, including one with a remarkable exit strategy. He also spearheaded the development and launch of a pioneering breast cancer screening program in Moscow, leaving a significant mark in the healthcare sector. In the realm of neuroscience, Ilya's accolades include the development of novel MRI protocols and 3D visualization technologies, earning him a US patent. His dedication and contributions have been recognized with Basic Science Award from the Sexual Medicine Society of North America in 2019 and 2020. Currently, Ilya is at the forefront of neurostimulation and is focused on the development and assessment of wearable brain computer interfaces for various applications, including in home stroke rehabilitation. Join us in this episode as we delve into Ilya's entrepreneurial journey, explore his groundbreaking work in neurotech, and gain valuable insights into the ever evolving landscape of healthcare and neurotechnology. Welcome, Ilya. It's a great pleasure to have you today on our podcast. And can you please introduce yourself and let our listeners know where you're joining us from? From what part of the world?
Yes, certainly. First of all, thanks a lot for inviting me to do this wonderful podcast. And very nice to meet you and talk to you today. So I'm joining from, I'm currently live in Austin, Texas, live and work here with my family. And so I'm working in UT Austin. It's University of Texas at Austin, Evan Long's lab. Yeah, so this just brief thing.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Ilya, for your introduction. What would you recommend people visiting Austin for the first time to definitely see? What is like a must have thing to do or to see in Austin?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. Texas is quite popular already in the world. And probably first thing when you're thinking about US, it will be maybe New York, California, maybe Chicago, and certainly Texas. Yeah, so it's well known, and there are good reasons for this. First of all, probably very nice people live here generally in Austin and in Texas. And it's certainly great food. So you have many great options, different restaurants. Also, Austin is like music capital of one of music capital of US. So we have a lot of festival concerts all year and many things. I mean, all this like cowboys things. I mean, Texans also they're really proud to be born here, to live here, and like when you live here also for some time, you also became kind of proud to this place. The place is great, and I really enjoy how locals like really love their state, their city, their neighbors, and so on.
Yes, it feels like a very welcoming environment.
Yes, and just to quickly add, going closer to our area, as I think many guys know, Texas growing significantly, Austin is growing also, and quite many guys, famous guys, companies moved here. And certainly it's Elon Musk, first of all, who mainly, I guess, live here. And they're also building rockets in Texas Bay. And yeah, and certainly for Neurotech is also growing here. So I think it's a great place where you can start your research, start your company, do great, find great people here, and so on.
Yes, absolutely. Did you get a chance to meet Elon Musk yet?
Oh, not yet, not yet. Yeah,
Not yet, not yet,
one
but
of
it's
them. Yeah.
coming. Yes. Okay, very good, very good. Yes, in all this amazing and supportive environment for neurotech, you chose UT Austin. What attracted you in UT Austin specifically to pursue your interest in neuroscience and neurotechnologies?
Yeah, that's a wonderful journey from my previous country. So most of my life I lived in Moscow, in Russia, and I also spent some time in Israel, and then I finally moved here in the US. And so when I was thinking what to do next, and I certainly was thinking a lot about US and about research, doing research here. I had like different options, different field in my mind, and we can cover it a bit later because actually I have quite versatile experience from many areas. So like what I did, it's actually I did my first my small research about where like really prospective areas in medicine, in health tech. I certainly had some general feeling, understanding what's going on, like about trends. And so those trends were certainly neuroscience and neurotech. Another trend like oncology and all pharmaceutical drugs, and mostly for oncology direction. And also it's certainly AI. I had a choice actually between neuroscience and between AI in radiology. Initially, I'm a radiologist, and I also had experience in different AI systems and was working with developers and was implementing also something. And so you talk like about breast screening program that we were creating, and we were seriously considering implementing some AI systems in the process there. And I was talking a lot to guys like from Philips and from other companies and startups. So yeah, I had like pretty good initial experience in AI also. It was really like a big choice, what field to choose, right? And I tried something in AI field and contacted like different companies, startups, and then I started searching in neuroscience field. And first, I was thinking that I should probably go and also get PhD in neuroscience because I mean, as I was thinking, I should go to research. I think it's like must have to grow successfully and do real things. So when I checked different options at that time in the US, the only option in neuroscience was my current option, was my current position. It's not position, but current professor, so Ellen Wong. And that's kind of really amazing and kind of miracle. So I emailed that guy, emailed Ellen, and he replied me like literally in 20 minutes already. And so that was my like first experience of this like kind of first communication, not natural actually. And so we started our communication and started working together. And I understood that as I already had MD, so probably I will not need actually PhD here, and I can work here successfully with MD as like research associate or kind of postdoc position. So I'm actually next level already, and yeah, that's what I did. That's great also that Evan is initially from Stanford, and I will think also about in my mind like it will be good to if it's possible, good to try to enter Stanford. Yeah, so there's also some relationship because we're also using now and continuing his previous Stanford research. So we have quite good connections with Stanford as well. Yeah, and I explored UT Austin online and check the place, check the culture, the research, and so on. And I really enjoyed what I've seen so far. Then I just started working with him, and I helped with some grants funding and different things. And then we could find funding for me, and I moved to US with my family. So that was my kind of trip briefly.
Yeah. So, how many years have you lived in Austin already?
Yeah, it will be 2 years in November.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can you tell more about the program you are in? So, what type of research you are doing or you are involved in? Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. So this is a biomedical engineering department. So actually, I'm working mainly with engineers and biomedical engineers, and certainly we're focusing in neuroscience. Specifically, we are focusing on neurotechnologies and neurostimulation, neuromodulation technologies, more specifically, non-invasive technologies. So different non-invasive neural interfaces. We have also like different directions inside. Our lab is actually growing quite fast, I guess. It's already 15 persons for now. So we have quite many interesting things Yeah, just to cover initially. So the first direction is Sono-Optogenetics. So you probably know what is optogenetics. So just to explain a bit maybe for our listeners. So this is quite widespread technology currently, quite popular in neuroscience research all over the world. And actually, Evans, his previous professor at Stanford, it was Carl Dizerot, one of the pioneer and in the area. So it's also a great connection. And what's the technology is that we can modulate neural activity, specific neurons, using light. So what we need to do for this, we first injecting viral vector, so virus that containing specific genes of opsins. Opsins, these are the protein channels that are light sensitive. So what we can do, we can inject these opsin genes to very specific neurons, actually to even specific subpopulations of neurons. So it's not just the tiny area, it's like, for instance, specific type of neurons in this brain area, right? So we can express these opsins in this area. Then in optogenetics, you also need to implant the optical fiber to give light to this area. And thus we can stimulate or we can inhibit neural activity. And what innovation we are offering, what we're working on. So we want to do the same thing with the same advantages, but do it even better, do it non-invasively. So it's a bit more complicated in our case. In our case, it is contains ultrasound and it contains nanoparticles. So we have then three components: ultrasound, nanoparticles, and certainly opsins expressed in specific neurons. Then how we're doing this with ultrasound, we can stimulate our mechanoluminescent nanoparticles. These nanoparticles are then activating specific neurons that contains already these opsins. So this is kind of a brief explanation of technology, and we certainly have like great ideas about different various applications of this technology. So for instance, my initial project was Sono-Optogenetics for Parkinson's disease, and I did it in rat models, given Parkinsonian rat models, and we showed pretty good results, promising results, and could achieve the rescue of movement dysfunction, exceeding the stimulation time. So that's also like advantage compared to many deep brain stimulation techniques. If we're talking like talk about motivation, not only some Sono-Optogenetics, but actually about non-invasive techniques. So certainly DBS working well for now for many patients, but not ideal, not perfect. There are many limitations. It is invasive procedure. It is so as it's invasive, you're damaging some brain tissue. Certainly, there are currently companies and like big companies like Medtronic, Boston Scientific. They're working on miniaturizing these electrodes, and this will help. But still, you will need this surgery, and you will partially still damage the brain. And another thing that most of these electrodes, they are not stimulating specifically areas, so they also stimulating surrounding areas partially, right? And also currently most of these technologies, they achieve recovery like treatment of symptoms only during stimulation periods. So it's actually in this stage, it's not disease modifying technology, not affecting probably the underlying mechanism of the disease. And because this is also invasive, it requires surgery, and the surgery is quite expensive. So it's also limited to specific populations. So many patients in the world, even in the US, cannot get this surgery, cannot get this device implanted.
Very interesting. Can you maybe tell our listeners what is still missing to bring Sono-Optogenetics from animal models to human?
Absolutely. So this is quite complicated. It contains from three components, right? Because we are certainly also thinking a lot about it and how to translate it to clinical stage, how to move further, and also found a startup based on this technology. As I said, like we have different technologies, different directions. I just covered just one direction from our lab. So this is probably most challenging between all the directions because it contains these things. So first, it is viral vector, and it requires express of new genes, new opsons. For now, there is just one technology, one FDA-approved technology, and they finished their clinical trials. So this is for retina treatment, so eye disease treatment. So still, there are not many technologies based on optogenetics that are doing clinical trials now, just very limited. So we think that it will take quite a long time for regulation and like to be approved by FDA to be implemented in the clinical practice, right? So this is the first thing, first component. Secondly, we have also nanoparticles. So we have like biodegradable nanoparticles. Currently, we show in animals that they're really safe. Yeah, but still like new substance, and also it can be quite complicated. And then third thing is also this will be, so if we're talking about FDA, this will be a combination product. Just to explain a bit, for FDA regulation, there are biological regulation, there are like a drug application, and there are also like device application, device regulation. And so these are like different departments, different people certainly. And in our case, we do have like a combination product. So it will be even more complicated in our case to get approval. Anyway, we are certainly aiming to do this, and we want next step go to non-human primate study. Probably here also in Texas, we have pretty good primate centers here, not far from Austin and in San Antonio also, and we have also good collaborations with guys. So we are planning this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And of course, I wish you all possible success to your lab to develop,
Thank you.
yes, this new genetic options for treatment. You also mentioned that there are other directions in the lab that are also aligned with the neurotechnologies. Maybe can you comment on some of those as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next technology is that we developed a novel EEG electrodes for electroencephalography. It's hydrogel-based electrodes, PSS-based electrodes, and we published a paper recently about this technology. So what are we doing now? What is our next goal? Goal is to create wearable device like a headset. So first option is just headset with EEG electrode, and one of first application that we are now actively working and planning try to commercialize it soon. Yeah, it is to develop wearable device post-stroke rehabilitation in home and actually even anywhere. So currently, many patients that also during this journey we are talking to customers also. So I was talking actually already with stroke patients, stroke survivors, and their families, and stroke specialists. So we had before these interviews, we had some like initial understanding of the problem or the situation, but certainly, as you know, interviews and actually all the customer development process is crucial, is very important. So this like crystallize your understanding of the problem, of the need. So actually you first need to find the need. And one of the most important need currently is that many patients, even in US, don't receive proper proper post-stroke rehabilitation. What we understood is that quite often insurance companies not cover the proper physical rehabilitation after stroke. So they probably cover just like minimum of rehabilitation just after the stroke case. But for many patients, you need rehabilitation for many months or even years, many years. So it can be 10 years, it can be even more. It depends on the severity of stroke, on many things. So first problem is that up to 30 to 40% of these patients in the US don't receive proper stroke rehabilitation. So first reason that insurance companies not cover this. Second reason, if insurance companies not cover this, stroke patients and families, or they don't have enough money to pay for this, or they can even not trust to hospitals, to stroke centers to pay for like additional services. And also the reason here is that the rehabilitation process is very slow, right? So maybe they try one or more time, and if they don't see some like good result, maybe they will just stop doing this and abandon, right? So there is actually quite urgent need in effective device for in-home stroke rehabilitation. And that's what are we doing, what are we actively working on. So we want to develop a wearable device, easy to use. So how it will work, it is BCI, brain-computer interface, with functional electrostimulation. The technology is quite simple to explain. Actually, this technology is being used in some rehab centers currently, but just in rehab centers facilities, because it's still quite complicated to do, and you need professionals to set up electrodes and so on. The stroke survivor sitting with installed electrodes on his head, and also installed electrodes for stimulating electrodes for functional electrostimulation. He is thinking about some movement of his lesioned hand, right? And then electrodes are recording this neural activity, and then passing signals to stimulating electrodes. And these electrodes are stimulating specific muscles, right? And the person has this movement. And it was shown in publications and also in our collaborators' publication. Now Jose Milan, actually very quite famous person in the BCI world. He published that in Nature Communication a couple of years ago. So this technology was shown to be really beneficial for stroke rehabilitation. And what we want to do simply is just to move this technology from stroke rehab facility to in-home usage, or even outside anywhere. So it will contain a wearable device that has our EEG electrodes, and it will contain also electrodes for simulation of specific muscle activity. Also, we certainly want to do the digital part, probably will be like iPad. It is also very important, and during our customer discovery, during our interviews, customer interviews, we found out that it's so first of all, as I said, stroke rehabilitation is very slow and complicated process. And you really need great motivation to do this. It's really hard work for many patients. So certainly why we need this iPad. So first it will be like kind of feedback. So the person needs the feedback. If he's doing well, if he's doing all right, the exercise and doing things well. Then all his exercise results can be shared to his healthcare provider. Third, and very important, we also want to use some gamification features for this. And maybe not even gamification, even competition features, because we also understand that, and what we see, that many of these stroke patients, they tend to talk to other stroke survivors. And it's actually very important for them to share their ideas, share their results, to support each other, right? And probably it will be kind of like social activity also will be implemented here, like competition features. It can also really help. Like, who will win today, like John or Michael, and so on. Yeah,
Yes, very, very interesting. Very interesting approach. And yes, we know that gamification definitely brings that motivation to people to continue and do things, which is a great approach for them to keep being involved in this process.
absolutely. Yes.
You mentioned several interesting things that I would like to learn a little bit more in depth. You mentioned that you started, first of all, with those hydrogel based electrodes. Our listeners may not know much about electrodes. Currently, there is a movement of creating different electrodes. Yes, so we have even the textile embedded electrodes, we have active electrodes, we have sponge electrodes, of course, classic. Silver chloride electrode. So there is such a variety of electrodes. Why did you decide not to choose what's available but create your own electrodes? And why this specific type, hydrogel based? So, what can it help you to do that other electrodes maybe do not help?
There are certainly different electrodes. They're like conventional electrodes are gel based. They are being used a lot, and this is the main electrodes still currently used in clinical practice, in clinical routine. These electrodes work certainly fine, and yeah, they show very good results and high efficacy, but they are limited in terms of longevity. So it's limited to gel longevity. Another type of electrodes are dry electrodes, and so people try to develop some devices with dry electrodes and achieved really, really good results. So there are different things about dry electrodes for strength. It's certainly the longevity, and it's possible to create a wearable device using these dry electrodes, and people already did. One of our competitor actually in stroke rehab area. So it's a company called Neurolutions. They have actually a pretty similar solution, but still with some certainly with some modifications. So they have headsets like in headphones format design, and they're using dry electrodes. So dry electrodes is like spikes, all right? It's actually because of this format, it's can be not very comfortable to wear this, and this is one of like main disadvantage of this type of electrodes. And another disadvantage of this type of electrodes is that it's very easy to move during some activity, right? If the patient are moving, and it certainly affect the quality of the recorded signal, and can significantly affect the efficacy of the whole device, for instance, right? So this Neurolution device, they're using these dry electrodes, but instead of stimulating electrodes, they're using robotic handpiece. So the headset reading the neural activity and passing signals to a robotic handpiece, and then it's help the person to make some movement of the lesion head. So finally, our type of electrode that we develop, hydrogel-based electrodes. This type of, so it's polymer hydrogel EEG electrode. So what our results currently show that the stability of these electrodes exceeding 1 month. So for now, we proved the longevity for 1 month. It can work even more, and we think that it will work. It will work more for like a longer period of time. And we certainly also modifying and updating these electrodes. Secondly, it showed great impedance results, so it's very effective. We compared with many different electrodes, with commercialized electrodes, and also with published electrodes data, and we achieved one of the best results. So what we have for now, we have these EG electrodes that can work for a long time, and that are quite sticky. If they're sticky, that means that they are really stable. There are can be some difficulties with their installation, and we are now thinking a lot about this. How actually people can, like our future customers, can use it at home, can install it. We're trying to do it like thus they can install it and deinstall when they don't need it. For instance, like before sleep, before bedtime, right? So it's sticky, and that means that it's very stable and got very stable signal of neural activity. That means the person can actually do everything he wants, and the signal will be all right. Third, the quality is very good, and the quality is also very stable during this period. So yeah, we think this is very good basis for future wearable device.
Yes, thank you very much for explaining all of that. And just for those listeners who are just starting to listen, we need electrodes to record the signal from the brain, yes, so that we can afterwards pass it for processing and triggering the movement when we record certain signal from the brain.
Yes.
And what I noticed when you talk that you always look into the need of people. You contact people, you survey. What are the ways, other ways, or maybe you can provide more details on these ways of for you to learn about what is needed?
Yeah, this is crucial. This is very important. I certainly know many of the things before, as I also had some startup experience of interviewing people and finding the need, finding the problem, and finding the product market fit is actually most important thing in startup. So researchers who want to develop something, to create something new, and startup guys, they must think about product market fit every day, 24 hours per day, until they found it. So it's actually most important thing, and because it's also, I mean, it's not obvious. It's not obvious for many researchers still. And we're actually happy that it's related to our recent interviews. We are happy that we started our journey with NSF. So this is iCorps program. I'm really happy that we joined it. So they will be like in our national phase, like early next year. So during that period, we would need to have around 100 interviews, and that is quite a number. Actually, it's not easy at all to get these interviews. So what are the ways? Certainly, there are different routes, different options with different efficacy. Certainly, most effective, like first place, is to use your current network, talk to doctors if you have those in your network, or ask your friends, your network, to introduce you to some guys. So this is certainly most effective and like easy to go. Secondly, LinkedIn, I guess it's one of the maybe most important platform currently for working projects, for startups, for all business things. So if you know how to use it, you certainly can find many things for you there, and you can find great people there, and just try to explore the functions, how better to find the proper people, and when you build the good networking there, from my understanding, it's also very good that you're also getting like great newsletter, right? Like great news, and you always see the most hot topics in your area, all right, and so on. So it's also very good. So through LinkedIn, you can find specific persons, you can find stroke doctors, You can even find there are one filter where you can find the people who are volunteering or like helping other people with consultations or with like other things. So you can find this option also. LinkedIn is good, but you need to find a way like how to communicate effectively. So for instance, for 10 interview, we're talking like about cold emails, right? Cold messages. So for 10 interviews, you probably would need to contact to write, I don't know, maybe 200 persons, maybe for 100, 200, maybe even more. It really depends on like what you're writing, what profile you have. You should really also certainly think like about profile. If you have good photo there, all the information there, if it's like looks like credible, right, and so on. And you just need to write the person and try to attract him and certainly deliver the message that you are not selling anything for now. You want to hear his problems. You want to hear about his life, his work, about his current challenges, needs, problems, so all the things. And next, like during interview, most important, so the structure of interview will be that 80% or 90% of time you will listen to the person. You're trying not to talk about your product, about your vision. You focus on listening. And even if the person is asking you something about your technology, what you're working on, about your project, you trying to transfer it like to maybe end of conversation and or to another conversation, right? So not to have also the bias. It's also very, very important here. Yeah. So you need to listen to person and ask really, really good questions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ilya. And you mentioned working in startups, developing product. How did this interest develop in you? What prompted you to start bringing product into the market? Think about the things in neuroscience and neurotechnology from the perspective of entrepreneur.
Yeah. So this interest starting grown for me like university ages, like medical school, right? And it was like maybe my first and second years. So first, my thought was if it was good way for me, like correct, proper way for me to go to medical university. As you diving to the field and talking to people, and also later like joining surgeries, assisting something, doing something, and so on, right? So you understanding more about routine, about clinics, and so on. And during my first years, I was thinking a lot about what else I want to do. And I understood that like technologies and like tech at all is very interesting for me and was fascinating. Then what I did, I talked to different guys from different areas, and also I explored the trends, what's going on like about tech, what will be like in next 10, 20 years, what will be like next big thing and so on. And I found out that actually healthcare is one of the biggest thing that would be, and we can see it now actually already, right? How quickly it's developing now. So then I started to think in parallel to my medical education. I started to think like about specific projects, technologies, like what would be interested to develop. Yeah, and then finally it was maybe kind of inspiration or something. I had some ideas what would be good to have. And in some time after I had these ideas, I met online one person from another city who actually was working on things very close to my ideas. And I contacted him. So he was doctor. He was actually hematologist. So I joined his project, and in some time we founded a company. So I was co-founder. It was my first company. We were working on two directions. First direction was developing of medical expert systems for patients. So this was time, I would call it like pre-AI time. So some people know about AI, but certainly it wasn't like the current way where everybody talking about it, right? Not this hype. So actually, when we're developing that, our system already included some AI features. We found great engineers, software engineers in the area, in machine learning to do this. So there, the idea was to give patients the easy-to-use solution to understand his symptoms and get some primary diagnostics, to do correct things further, to give recommendation if it's like urgent situation and he need to go there and so on. So, and to show like some primary information about his diagnosis route, right? So projects in this area didn't work out actually, and it didn't rise. But later, maybe 3 or 5 years, I think there are some projects. I think some of them even unicorns. So it was we had like correct ideas, but maybe not in the correct market. I think one of our main mistake at that time was that we were focused locally, and we needed to go to Europe, to UK probably. So this was the first project we were working on, and second project was developing of wearable device, actually a wearable page for ECG cardio monitoring, right? So we had these two projects, and that was great time for me. I just dived in this very new area and talked to many interesting guys and pitched a lot, and also participated in different competitions, also Microsoft competition. There were also like the different European competition also were going on in Moscow at that time. So that was great time, great experience. As a result of that startup, actually, hire from a quite large company who was interested in the area. So they hired us, they bought some of our technologies we developed, and so that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So you were getting more and more experience in creating startups and being entrepreneur. What were your key learnings? What is essential to do to have at least a successful start to the startup?
First of all, you need to start from your passion. Also, many guys talking about this, and it's actually how it works. If you don't have correct passion, you couldn't do anything great. Doing startup in the current market, current field is very difficult, very challenging. And if there are some companies who are even trying to create new market, it can be even impossible, right? So it's close to maybe Elon Musk things or something like this. So this is probably one of the most tricky things in the world, because you will have many failures during your way, and you need something inside that will help you to go on, right? So you certainly need the patient. You need to find your patient. I know that many guys now say that they don't have patience, they don't love their work, they don't want to do actually anything. They just, I don't know, want to have a rest and so on. So just to have fun. I think it's partially true as it is, unfortunately. And the main reason, I guess, is from our childhood. So actually in childhood, when we were kids, we're very curious. All of us are, or most of us, like 95%, very curious about everything. And we want to try everything. We want to explore the world. But what's going on later? Life is going on. Like you have your parents who unfortunately often, depending certainly on the areas, depending on the time, telling you like, stop this, don't do this, and so on. This certainly not correct, not productive, not healthy for young person, for child. And then not only parents, it's also school, it's also society. And most unfortunately, That's what's going on, and that is, I think, one of the main reasons why so many things cannot find their place in the world. In my case, it's actually when I started my journey, like during first year, it was very hard period for me. It was close to depression in many things, because like you're so trying and trying and trying to find yourself, and you cannot do this, and you don't have also many guys advisors who you can talk to discuss these things. So this can be really painful. But still, I was very curious, and I'm still now very curious. So in my nature, I really enjoy to start new things and try to motivate people to do things and just go and so on. What's this going back? What's most important, again, to do a startup? First, find your passion. Find the area you really enjoy, or find the people you really enjoy to work with. It can be the thing that you don't have some motivation, passion to do that something, but when you're entering the right team, you're then exploring how great it can be, that the work can be not like a boring place where you're working from 9 to 6 or something, right? And looking forward to Friday and so on. So you just need to find for great area and try to do something to get some ideas, inspirations, and then find correct people to join your team. Or you can certainly join some team if you have some skills, right? I mean, startups actually, as they often don't have much money, they even taking people who don't have much experience, right? Because they also need, like, they have different tasks. And for many of them, it's most important just the person is ready to do something new, is ready to learn something. Because experience is actually can be and often is bad thing, unfortunately, for many guys. For instance, like MBA experience or experience working in some corporates. So you have some rules stuck in your head, right? And they're just limiting you, and they can not let you to develop successfully in startup, for instance. So that's also an interesting thing. Then after operation, product market fit, and you have some idea, not develop this. Don't, okay, you can do some minimal prototype, right? You can do this. But even before prototype, you first go and talk to people. You find the correct people. You go to industry. You go out of the building. So this is most crucial thing. And thus you'll save your time, save your motivation also. You will save money and so on. I guess this most important.
Yes, thank you so much. And you said that there should be something that would motivate people to persevere as they're going through this challenging process, like you also noted. So, what is it for you that motivates you to go and do startups and try new ideas and persevere?
The biggest goal is just to create a great company. Like, it's not certainly a very specific field, but it certainly should be something that is very important for people, that helps to people, and where is big need. I guess this is my greatest motivation, to create and found great company with the great people and pioneer things, also things together, and achieve some great level, grows to unicorn and so on. So all this stuff. I maybe actually started, I think, maybe 4 times already. Some starts was just quite short, and then I found out. So that's why it's very important to talk to people, right? So when you have idea, you don't want to create at once, right? You first talk to many people and get the understanding. If you understand that it will not work, go further, go on, right? So every time after my failures, because I certainly had more failures than success, after my failures, during some time, so I was kind of burnout maybe, and I didn't want to continue this, didn't do anything about this, and just want to work in my field, I have different fields. And so, for instance, when I was thinking about research here in the US, after my previous projects, I already was thinking that's all right. I just dive into research, and probably that will be my like best place, and I will work in academia and so on. But now there is like your nature is is arising, and you understand that you want to achieve some bigger things, and you need this drive. You want to go beyond the lab, the academy. So I guess this is my my motivations.
Yes, absolutely. So you gave yourself some rest and start feeling more secure, and again, your desire to create your own and make a difference. It's uh,
Yeah.
alive again. Yes, and you are work.
Yes, yes, I think so. Yeah, but these types of people, they're like gamblers. I actually think. Yeah, so they continue to try to play, and yeah, and this is very, very important. Is also it is often like there is a popular phrase that if you don't want to work, do hobby, make
Mhm.
a hobby to be a job, right? So something like this, right? So
Yes.
this is often not a life from Friday to Sunday. This is more life from Monday to Friday or from Monday to Sunday. So yeah, so you're just doing your things, following your passion all the time.
Yes, absolutely. And we spoke at the very beginning about Elon Musk. So he is, I think, a great example of that
Yeah,
because I don't think he really differentiates Saturday, Sunday from Monday and Tuesday. Um,
yeah. I mean, Elon Musk, it's another level. It's yeah,
yes, it's a
I think
legend for
you.
sure. Um, yes. So, Ilya, you mentioned, and thank you for mentioning that there are a lot of failures in startups, and if you don't have this really motivation that would bring you back, it's difficult to stay and continue doing things. Maybe you can share what was your major failure in working in startups and what was your biggest success, just to give our listeners an understanding of what startup is about. Yes, so sometimes it can be a roller coaster in a way.
Sure. So still, I would say that I'm not very experienced founder, certainly. So all of my startups were in early stage. I had some success, as I told, that I could sell our technologies to the big company, and also I was hired to this company, and it was also great job, great team, and yeah, for me it was kind of success and also good way to continue my development in the area where I also get great expertise, right? So for failures, that's a good thing. Through my way, I did it funded actually we see money. So not all of those startups were bootstrapped or will also attract grants for first startups. So we were working on grants also. That is good thing that in terms of failures, that we wanted invested a lot and then just burnt all money and so on. Right. I mean, it's also depends on the how developed we see in this specific area, like venture capitalism, right? So, I mean, if it's well developed in high level, like here in the US and especially in like Bay Area in Boston and so on, so those areas, people certainly understand the rules of the games and that most of the startups are dying and so on, right? But if you're working like in a less developed area when people just, for instance, starting their VC journey, they cannot exactly understand maybe how it actually works, and it can be quite challenging for them and really frustrating to lose money. So in my case, we didn't had that, so we didn't get VC funding. Yeah, most frustrating for me, I guess, was like, for instance, I was creating together with my colleagues, found great guys, great team. We were developing a breast cancer screening program in Moscow. So in some point, I left that program and I wanted to do similar things, but in private level. So we found a company called Prevent, and we wanted to develop breast cancer screening, and not only breast cancer, other types of screening, to do this very effective, very convenient, and personalized screening. So just wanted to fight all the challenges of the public system, for instance, right, of screening and so on. We really believed in the project that it will be very helpful and that many patients need this and so on. And we certainly did quite a lot of interviews. Yeah, I mean, so this frustration thing that when you trust a lot in the thing that it should work, that it will work, that it will be very helpful, and when you found out that it doesn't work and there is not a market yet, yeah, maybe this, I guess, was one of most challenging, frustrating, leading to some also not depression, but yeah, just close to these states and upsets and so on.
Yes, absolutely. What were the main things that you learned from those not so successful startup experiences? What would you say were your main learnings?
Yeah, so I emphasize again product market fits and very early interviews. I guess most in all of my previous startups, we had interviews, but not enough interviews or not proper persons, not proper clients. We were not proper customers, right? Yeah, and probably not existing market also it used certainly. So this also what we mentioned before a bit. I mean, there are certainly still some persons like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and other guys, not many guys, just 0.1 or 0.01% of the guys who can create new market. For other founders, it's literally not possible to create new market or to really make us some great revolution. So for most of guys, it will be the way of more of evolution, right? Or yeah, maybe some in between, but not the new market. So this is certainly a very good lesson also because in our last startup, the market wasn't ready. So there wasn't still market for this, and was very limited number of patients in our case who were interested in this product and who needed this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for explaining all of that, which I think is important information for everyone to consider when starting their startup. And now that you learned so many things, you have very rich experience. Yes, working, trying new things, learning from failures and from what worked as well. And now you are contributing to this development of this new product for stroke rehabilitation, which I would agree, at least from what I've heard, it's really important because what we have, at least we have some devices and centers already for stroke rehabilitation, which is awesome. But what happens when people already get out there, spending in the center, no, at most 2 hours, yes, at most, 3 times a week also at most, yes. What happens when they come home? I think that's a very important problem that you are trying to address. Yes. So now, if we go through those major stages of startup development, of product development that you mentioned, yes, starting with patients, then going to product market fit, and then seeing if the market is ready. Yes. So, how would you describe each of those stages for your new product that is being developed in the lab that you're working with?
Yeah. So first of all, you're starting from customers. So this customer discovery. Yeah. Again, so there can be like product development and customer development. And thanks a lot to Steve Blank and other guys who made a great job in teaching the whole world how actually the startups have to be created and all this out of the building things and so on. So we are certainly starting from customer development. And when we have some ideas, some hypotheses, so first we develop and discuss with our colleagues, with our friends, some hypotheses. Then when you build some hypotheses, you're thinking about what would be the customers for these projects, something like software, anything. Then when you figured out their customers, you also need to understand their industry itself, like the whole industry, like different stakeholders. There are so many stakeholders, especially in healthcare. So when I actually told before that creating startup is one of most challenging thing in the world. So creating healthcare startup or biotech startup, it's one of the most challenging in the startup area, actually. It's so difficult, especially when you have, like in the US, we do have like great market, the biggest market actually, so many opportunities, but still we understand that there are so many current stakeholders, so many current products, your future competitors, and so on. And certainly all of your competitors, future competitors, don't want you to come to the market and to change some things. They just want things to go on as it is and continue making money, right? So you will understand that this is also will be kind of battle fight with them. So then when you understand the industry, the area, stakeholders, you figured out who else you need to interview, because many of these guys, not all, many of these guys will also affect your future business. There are many things where you can stuck. And I don't know, for instance, if you cannot sell your product to patients directly for different purposes, and you need to do it through hospitals, and hospitals don't want to do it, or doctors don't want to do it, you don't have any ways, right? So nobody can help you with it. And this will be quite a big challenge for you. So you need to figure this out precisely and start your customer discovery journey and interviews. So as I told, for instance, for our stroke rehabilitation startup, I started interviews with stroke survivors, so patients with their families, also very important. Then with doctors, so you need to understand precisely. So you are not just doing like you're thinking, okay, I need doctors. No, you don't need just doctors. You need very specific type of doctors. You need, for instance, stroke doctor with 5 years experience, or like some like 5-10 years experience, some maybe some age, right? So better to figure out the things in this type of hospital doing this and this and this, right? So be as narrow as possible here. In our case, we will have not only stroke doctors, you need to also understand the rehabilitation process. So there are physical therapists, occupational therapists, different types of therapists and professionals working in the area, right? And working with these patients who will actually choose and decide whether they will use your technology or no, whether they believe it, trust in it, whether they need it. And you're preparing very good questions. Each time you're changing your questions after each interview, when you're getting some new insights, you can change your questions certainly. And then, so how many interviews you need? We don't have like some universal number, how many interviews. But the good sign is that when you starting listening the same insights, the same things many times, right? So you listen to already 5 or 10 times of the same things. Okay, that means you found it. You have a problem, you have a need, and you probably have some solution already on your mind. So here you are. Then after this, what do we have? We have some ideas, some hypotheses, and we already proved it initially. It's certainly it's not the final thing, final products. You will probably make more pivots later, right? And so on. So what can you do next? Very depending on the area, on the technology. Some technologies much easier to develop, to build. Some are very difficult. If it's possible, you can do MVP, right? So minimal valuable products. So some first prototype, and then work with this MVP and go back to these contacts you talked before, to these customers, and show them what you have and try to test it and get their feedback. But here in this stage, very important is that you're listening, but you're not listening everything. So first you're listening everything, certainly, but then you will need to filter what you got, because many customers will tell you that they will need this and this and this, and this will be even better, and this and this. So a lot of features, but certainly you cannot do all of this at once, right? So first you need to focus on the most important things. So features that will really change the game or will really resolve the problem, resolve the need, right? So this is actually about product market fit, right? So you found the market before, you found the need, and you are suggesting some very specific product. You don't need like thousands of different features, advantages, and so on. So it can be very simple thing. At first, it can be even ugly thing, right? It's normally for prototype, if I don't know, if we're talking about software or anything, right? But most important that it's resolving the problem. And then when you did this, you have different ways you can go. So first way, you can go to VC and to venture capitalists and to funds. Actually, first step will be, I guess, angel investors. Before them, it can be even safe. So safe is actually most of your investments will be like, this triple F, right? Like friends, fools, and family. So most of these guys. So you do have this safe route. So for instance, you want to attract like 1 million, right? Then you're showing to these guys. So you have valuation of the company. You're doing this work and trying to estimate and have some valuation. For instance, at the current step, you're evaluating $7 million or $10 million, right? And you are wanted to find 1 million. Then you're estimating the shares that each of these persons will get from you. And then, but even 1 mil is actually for safe. It's quite big. So typically it's around, I don't know, 100K or 200K. So around this, right? So it can be investments, 5, 10K. So right now, one of my friends in Boston area, he is doing this safe stage. And in his case, it's funny that he has quite a lot of friends in Facebook, and he is actually quite active there and was posting like some different stories, not about area, not about science, right? Just many things. And he built the network there, and he has quite a lot of friends there. And he started posting about his ideas. So he was also preparing the audience, but he actually didn't plan this. He didn't think that it will work out. But he was just telling the story that he leaving his company and creating a startup based on this research and so on. So just sharing some of his news. Yeah, and then he wrote about the money he's looking for. And then what he discovered. So in this stage, currently, most of the guys who invested during the safe offer to Facebook friends, the guys who even don't know, I mean, they didn't met. Many of them didn't meet, so they knew just don't like him. They know that he is like a reliable person and so on, and they investing in him. He made as small as like 5K. So you can do even this. So it can be like really not big sums of money. So this is first your option. Second option, angel investors, certainly. Third option, it can be VC companies. VC companies, depending on the areas, it can be very challenging. When you're starting your VC journey, you need to understand very specifically how this business works. There are so many types of VC companies. So some of them are focusing on early stage, some of them focus on mid stage, late stage, some of them like more universal. So they're interested in many areas. Some of them interested specifically, I don't know, biotech, oncology, drugs, oncology, biotech, and so on, right? So, and maybe some even mechanisms. So they can be very specific guys. So for instance, if we're talking about biotech and medtech companies, so the best would be to find the professional VC in this area. So not universal VC, but professional VC in this area. So this will be the guys with the greatest experience, greatest connection all over the world, in the country, with hospitals, with other VCs. So top technologists try to do this, first of all. Alternatively, in the early stage, they can also go to accelerators. There are many accelerators. Many guys know about YC, Y Combinator. Y Combinator is actually the best still in terms of efficacy, but Y Combinator is not focused on healthcare. And I just recently checked the last batch, the companies they took, just maybe 10% was health tech, so not many companies. You can explore specific accelerators in your area, in your field, and it can be Stanford by design program, I guess. There is very good accelerator in Berkeley. Check different places. There are some accelerators, certainly in Boston, as one of the top in the healthcare biotech area. So try those. Accelerators can be very important for you. Why? Because you are going to the next level of credibility. You are showing to the world that people with, if it's good accelerator, if it's top accelerator, that means that they have the top experts. And that means that they trust in you and believe that it can work. That your approach can work, that there is good market, your team can work out, and so on. And when you are entering accelerator, you become open to so many opportunities and so many contacts. So, for instance, in YC, you can, in their internal social network, you can directly contact some very top investors or experts in the field. You can talk to them and get some interviews and so on. So you're just opening many doors to your startup. I guess these are most effective and useful ways you can choose.
Thank you so much. Maybe you have some comments on specific ways for neurotech, neurotechnologies. What would you advise for people developing neurotechnology specifically?
Yeah, first of all, have and build great patience to do this because very challenging area. And for instance, from my understanding and what I heard also from people, if you compare biotech and medtech, for biotech, so both areas certainly are very challenging and complicated, and it's absolutely deep tech. There are some projects, some startups like in software and so on that are easier to do, easier to go, right? But if you're talking like about device, again, about medtech, about it, and compare them. So for biotech, you can develop until preclinical trial stage. So do your clinical trial. In preclinical stage, even in this stage already, you can sell your product to big companies, to pharma. Certainly in clinical stage, you have even more chances. And if we are talking about medtech, so for most of companies, there is another way. And it can be much more difficult to get money for your medtech company. And you will need to develop you will need to find clients, you will need to go to the market. And only in this stage, with some established first or established already clients, you can sell your company to corporations. So here, certainly develop on your goals, on your aims. In my case, I wanted to go to run my company as long as possible. Unfortunately, I understand that there is like really small chance that we can grow constantly and we can become like a big company in this field. I mean, who knows? It can be also, if we are lucky, if we are doing right things and we find great, we see guys expertise and so on. But currently, most of medtech startups, certainly, I mean, those who are successful, most of them are actually dying. But those who are successful, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20% of these companies, they are selling their products to companies, to pharma, can be Medtronic, Boston Scientific, and all other companies. So I guess the advice just to understand how the things work in this area and how challenging it can be ready to this, and also be ready that there is big chance that you will need to sell your company finally to some group. If you want, probably you can continue working in this corporation and continue developing your project inside. So it will be part of the corporation. You will develop inside this corpse. This also really good way for many guys, for many founders.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ilya. And like you also noted that you worked in different areas. Of course, they're all within healthcare, but different directions. And you were able to fairly well switch from one area to another. And now you're working in neurotech. What are those transferable skills that you acquired that help you to successfully move from one area to another?
That's interesting thing, and I think that's a very important quality skill of the person. Maybe one of most important. So I think it's again going from like natural curiosity and readiness to go to new area, to new company, new team, and with low skills, specific skills in the area. So first curiosity, and then flexibility is certainly is very important. And third, the skill of learning things, of self-education, of fast learning. So when you're entering new field, you have your weakness and your strengths. Certainly weakness that you don't understand many things inside the area, and your strength that you have so versatile experience before, if you did this couple of times already, and you have quite big like knowledge or understanding of different areas, how things works in other industries. This can be very important. And in my case, this also helped me a lot. This also gives me some uniquity. And because I also have clinical background and understanding how clinic works, how doctors works, and I have like certainly different research background and radiology and AI background and neurotech. So one of my previous project was we were developing neurotechnologist for stimulation of peripheral nerves to treat erectile dysfunction. And we worked quite a lot in monkeys. That was also a great experience. So all of this together, when combined, when you can use your skills, your knowledge from different areas, that gives, I think, very important skill set and your very important feature. So again, flexibility, curiosity, and readiness to learn again, learn new things, and yeah, just try to be bold.
Thank you. What current technological breakthroughs motivate you?
Yes, I think it's certainly brain-computer interface, and I guess that it will change things a lot, and all the things that Elon Musk's like talking about and where he's aiming, I think he's generally right in many things, and especially like together with AI applications, this will change the world drastically. But we certainly need also to understand how dangerous it can be, both together with brain-computer interface and both AI. So those are the things also Elon Musk talks a lot about this, like about combining our brains with machine and with AI and with some general AI. I guess this can be very, very dangerous. So certainly the society and researchers and industry has to understand what are they doing and to what extent they can do things and they can change their nature. But certainly, I guess this is so the brain-computer interface and together, especially in wearable design, in wearable and non-invasive design, so the things we are working on, this will give really great changes to the world.
Thank you. And when can we expect to have your wearable device for stroke rehabilitation on the market?
Yeah, I think that if we prove our concept through many further interviews and find necessary funding, in our case, it can also be the grant funding and SBIR funding. So also to researchers, certainly think about all different funding that you can use in the US. So there are so many things and options that you can use. It's not necessary to go directly to VC. And this is actually also a very important point that you can develop your technology in your lab. So I think it can be very great balance between lab development, like in lab development, and openness to the world and all these interviews and so on. So you can do many things in your lab, grant funding, and it can be very helpful because you can develop prototype your technology until some extent and even go to the market without big VC funding. That means that you will not dilute your shares significantly compared to that if you just try to attract money as early as possible. This is not the best option for many guys, for many companies. Also, certainly be aware and try all of these options. So great balance, work in your lab, develop technology, get grant funding. Also, at the same time, you can open a company and it can be like spin-off, like university company, right? And get SBIR funding, for instance, or there are also different funding for small startups. And also simultaneously be open to the world, talk always to clients, to customers. So do both simultaneously, product development and customer development. Very important. And for our case, if things going right, I hope it will be probably 2 years, maybe, until we could go to the market with our first prototypes. Maybe faster. Maybe faster.
Okay, yes, wonderful. Yes, and of course, I wish you all possible success with that. And where can our listeners learn more about the work your lab is doing, your product development, and about you? If somebody wants to contact you and learn more about you.
Yeah, sure. Certainly. I would be happy to talk to all guys in the area to share experience. So our lab you can easily find in Google. Just enter Evan Wong lab, Evan Wong UT Austin. And it's like first links, so quite easy to find. And also, please find me in LinkedIn, Ilya Pyatnitskiy. I know it's quite difficult to write it correctly, but you can certainly find me through our lab website. So Evan Wong Lab UT Austin.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we will add all this information to our podcast notes. So our listeners definitely can find you even with the difficulties
Yes.
pronouncing your name. No problem whatsoever. And you mentioned the big thing several times, and you, in your opinion, neurotech, and in combination with AI is that big thing. What do you think can be the next big thing after neurotech and AI?
Certainly, all the BCI, brain-computer interfaces, technologies, especially like wearable, non-invasive things, can also work together with drugs. I guess this also will give like great opportunities and technologies and products. So I guess that there will be many combined products featuring the advantages from both areas, right? So we have the first top area currently related to drugs. So certainly drugs and biotech, new molecules will develop significantly, and they will just open new possibilities and open new ways to treat different debilitating disorders, neurological diseases. There is also great development in drug delivery, gene delivery, right? So I think all these two, three areas together with devices, with brain-computer interfaces, including stimulation, I mean, in brain-computer interfaces, the technologies for stimulation, it can be, for instance, ultrasound stimulation, also another direction that we are developing. So just ultrasound stimulation of the specific region. For instance, that can be used to open BBB. So it's a blood-brain barrier, right? So with focused ultrasound, you can open this and successfully deliver the drugs, the genes to very specific region. So probably this would be like the next step, and also will give us many, many great products and companies.
Thank you so much for providing this perspective and for all this conversation, which was just so non-biased, I would say very objective, demonstrating the real state of the startups and challenges and the advantages and all the things that need to be considered. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners also will appreciate that very much. And as we're nearing the end of our podcast, maybe there is something you would like to share with our listeners before we end.
I think maybe just a kind of motivation. So for all of you guys who are not sure if it was entering the area, who had like some interests in the area, I promise you that you should certainly try this, and you will enjoy how great it is. So I can promise that your journey that you can open, that you can find in this area is amazing, fascinating. There with so many opportunities, so many breakthroughs, technologies, and new pioneer researchers. And this is the great field because we are actually saving lives. We are helping to so many, many people, especially when we are trying to do some more affordable technologies, not only available to developed countries. Think about those millions and millions of people who live in purity and lack the access to this technology. And we together have all the chances to create just great things, easy to use technologies, affordable to millions and millions of people and patients all over the world. And I think that's like great drive, great motivation for us to go further and just continue doing our things and doing this world better.
Thank you so much. It's really very, very motivating. Thank you very much, Ilya, for all this conversation. And of course, I wish you all possible success, many new, interesting, and impactful developments. And of course, we will be looking forward to updates on this wearable stroke rehabilitation device and also on Sono-Optogenetics. I think that's so unique and has so many perspectives in front of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dear Neurocareers podcast listeners, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the entrepreneurial world of neuroscience and neurotechnologies. I hope you've been inspired by the stories of those who are turning groundbreaking ideas into impactful realities. If you are looking for more guidance on succeeding in neurocareers, book a free consultation with me, your podcast host, Dr. K, at the Institute of Neuroapproaches. So, what are you waiting for? Let's navigate the path to success in the world of neurocareers and make the impossible possible together.